let's talk about BPD and the 4 different subtypes. Although the 4 subtypes aren't actually a part of the official borderline personality diagnosis, nor is it acknowledged in the DSM, the subtypes have been suggested by psychologist Theodore Malone. I'm probably mispronouncing that. So he proposed these 4 subtypes in order to further categorize and further understand how borderline can present in individuals. As in some people, it can be harder to catch, like myself. Okay, and as you can see here, the 4 types of borderline personality disorder that, again, have been suggested by this psychologist is number 1, the discouraged, or more popularly known as the quiet borderline. Number 2, self-destructive borderline. Number 3, impulsive borderline. And 4, petulant borderline. And I wanted to note that in all the different subtypes, the symptoms don't actually present differently. Like, it's not a different type of borderline. It's all borderline personality disorder. This is just a way that can help us identify it in individuals, as we're all unique and it can present very differently. Today, I'm going to focus on quiet BPD though, because that's the category I fall into. And being like quiet borderline, I believe that's why it took me up until a few months ago to be diagnosed officially. I constantly thought it was other things and had no idea what the fuck was going on. So like I said earlier, the symptoms in order to be diagnosed with BPD, you do need to have at least 5 of the symptoms, and they're the same across the board regardless of these subtypes. But again, because of the presentation type, some of the symptoms can look a little bit different or show up a little bit differently, usually causing you to be able to glide through in life in some way, or people not catching on what's really going on with you. So what are the symptoms of quiet BPD? Well, number 1, intense mood swings that you manage to hide from others, suppressing feelings of anger or denying you feel angry, withdrawing when you're upset, avoiding talking to others who have upset you and cutting them off instead. All of these are very, very true for me. Blaming yourself whenever there's a conflict, persistent feelings of guilt and shame, having a thin skin and taking things personally, feeling like you're a burden to others, people pleasing even at a cost to yourself, social anxiety and self-isolation, fear of being alone yet pushing people away at the same time. And BPD can look different from person to person. The ones that I listed previously was just more of an example of how sometimes the quiet borderline subtype can present. But still, for example, these are common symptoms that across the board people with BPD do have. I believe just having more awareness and understanding of how the symptomatology can show up in ourselves and in others can further destigmatize the disorder and bring more awareness to also help for treatment. Being misdiagnosed for years did nothing for me, so I hope this was helpful for some.